is about mother guilt.
Oh, what a doozy.
Mother guilt.
We're both like, are we going to do this? Yep, we're going to do this.
It's a very fitting topic, isn't it,
Yeah.
for our last 24 hours,
Yeah.
I think.
By the way, we're coming to you from inside Bridget's van after school drop-off. But you just grab whatever moments you can. And it was a topic that was really coming up for both of us today very, very strongly as we just navigate this first couple of weeks of school for our 5-year-olds. And then also for me today, my 18-month-old, I sent him off to family daycare. Sent him off. Sent him off. There we go. There's some mother guilt words for you. I chose to take him to a beautiful environment, a little family daycare, for the first time today. So I had all that dialogue coming up around, just that voice of what am I doing and am I going to screw him up and feeling like, for me, it was really feeling like other people, at the school drop-off and then feeling my own projection of what other people are thinking. No one said anything. It's just more, I'm sure they're thinking, what are you doing? He's only 18 months. How could you, you terrible mother? What's more important? Like that feeling. And it's like, well, this is a dialogue in my own head. Yeah. It's not the dialogue from anyone else. And then if it is their dialogue, it's theirs anyway.
And really, what's I keep asking myself because the last 24 hours I've had a different dialogue, but and just really trying to just say, okay, what's going on? Like, what is this? What's the belief underneath this dialogue that's chattering in my head, trying to figure something out? It's kind of like, okay, what's it really pressed on? Because it's pressed on something that's ready for resolution, and ready to be looked at and seen and witnessed and loved. And so I feel like, the ways we're learning to just honour the chatter, and go to the next. What are the feelings underneath the chatter? Yeah. And what is that asking to be? How is it asking to be released and seen? How does that feel?
Yeah,
for
no,
you?
that feels completely, and I think, that resonates, and we just meditated then, and for me, definitely, what came through was sort of this just inherent, like an underlying, patterning in the world, or like an underlying sort of vibration almost. I could feel it kind of in the rocks and in the earth of just this, this mother, this expectation as a mother, what the good mother, what's the perfect mother, and just that certainly. And I'll just dive into what came through in my meditation then before we recorded was, just that. I'm just thinking of the best way to articulate it, because it was so much, and it is such a. It's a big topic, but just this inherent belief that there is one right way to mother, and that if you do it right, you will help to create this perfect being of love, your child. And if you do it wrong, then you fuck them up, and then
it's all your fault.
And it's all your fault. And certainly in my meditation, because Mother Mary is a big guide for me, she welcomed me with open arms and just said, "Oh, sweetheart, come here." And, she just enveloped me in love. And I was like, how did you do it? Like, how did you do it? And it was just this feeling of love, not, you're directing so much of your love to the child, love of self, loving that part of you that does, get it wrong. It's not even wrong. Like loving that part of you that yells and screams and, you know, all of that, loving all of you. And, you know, the words came through, can you love the murderer within you? Like, can you love that part of you? Because each of us is capable of every atrocity, or every I don't know, we're capable of it all.
Yeah. And and I believe have probably played that out in other lifetimes.
Absolutely.
Because that's the journey of the soul. It's not there's no judgment at that level.
Soul level. Absolutely.
And there is at the human level, and yes, there is the behaviours and actions that are not okay.
Yeah.
And that are, you know, breach humanity, really.
Yeah.
And so, but it's this full acceptance of our entirety, and that is the journey. That is the journey.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's important to because we also had the discussion about you being raised Catholic, and that epitome of Mother Mary.
Absolutely.
and her perfection and her virgin and her purity.
It's like as humans, and even if you weren't raised as a Catholic or raised with any knowledge, you know, the people that may not even know who Mother Mary is, I still feel like there's this underlying current in the whole of humanity, that there is this epitome of mother that is all self-sacrificing, all giving, all loving, all, you know, just...
Which is so fascinating, isn't it? Because it is like the ultimate setup. Because then mothers are so disregarded, so hidden, so small and so undervalued. And the mother, not just mothers, but the mother role, the carer role, you know, all the roles that is the mother energy. It's not actually the epitome of being a mother in this life. It's the mother energy that has been sacrificed and shamed and blamed and hidden and all of that. And so it just is playing out.
And we've got this dichotomy where we're told, you know, where we know it's such an important, you know, role. People say, it's the hardest job in the world. It's the most important job in the world. But we don't value it at all. But you don't get paid for it, and you don't
get any support.
And you won't get any support, and that was certainly, the support was one thing that came through from Mary very strongly when I'm just there sort of in her arms going, just give me some guidance. She was like, well, it is a setup. It is a setup. And for starters, you know, you were never given the unconditional love that you feel like you're supposed to pass on. And also you're doing it alone. And she was like, I didn't do it alone. Firstly, I wasn't perfect. I made mistakes. I was held. That was the feeling I got from her, that she was held as a mother, and as you know, that's ideally we'd all be held in this role of mothering. We'd be supported in so many ways.
And that's, you know, I feel like in each video we talk about we're journeying back into that space of being held and being unconditionally loved. And that's, you know, for me this morning, that's what I received from you, where I could kind of go through my own process and choose to kind of feel lots of emotion as it came up. And then when you arrived, I could really vulnerably share what had happened and how I was feeling, and and shame and guilt, and have a big sob out in your arms, and have that sort of sisterhood, you know, like, and where you just held me like a mother, you know. So that's
so much love and understanding.
No
it's like,
judgment.
Sweetheart, yes. I know. So I had a big cry too. It's like, yes.
But I feel like that, so we're kind of journeying through the fire, and it's not, you know, I'm really conscious of, yes, it's a setup, but it's a setup that we chose to experience, and we chose to come in at this time and experience that degree of separation where the mother energy is so misunderstood and so hidden and so undervalued.
It's all playing out perfectly.
And it's hard to kind of grapple with that. I mean, I worked for a long time in those, you know, very caring mother roles as a social worker, and in the hidden, in the darkness of the darkness. And, you know, what an undervalued role and that you're playing out, and that so many millions of people are playing out across the world, caring and loving these kind of the people who are in the deepest of trauma and the deepest loss, and you know, and it's completely hidden from society, and the people experiencing it are completely hidden from society and completely misunderstood. So it's just, that's why I feel like it is the mother role, like this, the caring for children, and it is, but it's the mother energy. That is the energy that's returning, and it's the compassion. So I feel like, really, if I kind of speak about my experience, you know, it's kind of being pushed to the limits and finding that you kind of sometimes go over the edge and act in ways that you don't usually. And I really felt this morning, like when I arrived after dropping Frida off, and not feeling really settled with what I was dropping her off into, and letting go of that it's not perfect, and wanting it to be perfect for her, and that separation. And so anyway, when I arrived here in the bush, just having a big cry, and choosing, because I felt like there was this choice point. Marie wasn't here yet. She was dropping Bo off. And I had this time of kind of like, oh, okay, this feels really uncomfortable. And so I was like, I can either get on my phone and watch a video of another teacher teaching, and I always enjoy doing that. But I kind of knew that was an avoiding kind of choice. And so instead I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to get out of the car and walk around this. The bush is just exquisite here. And it feels like home to me, the bush. So I just kind of wandered around the car and wandered through and looked up into the canopy of the trees and listened to the birds. And I was saying to Marie, as I was still in the car at this stage, as I kind of called forward my presence to just be with me and just kind of hold that space for me. As I opened my eyes, I saw this leaf fall down, like, you know, do that beautiful flutter, and got stuck in my rear view, my side mirror of my van. And I was just like, oh, I am completely held. Like, all through this, I'm held in such a big way, and I'm just being called to experience this in its fullness. So I can share this, you know, like, because this is what Marie and I want to do. So when I walked around the bush more, I saw this big gum tree in the distance, and it was kind of beckoning me over. So I just went and I just kind of put my head on her and just put my hands on her kind of bark and felt her energy, and I was just so held. And I sobbed more, you know, I sobbed as I just kind of wandered around, and then when we sat in meditation and Marie came, and I had a really big sob again. Just so much of that, really what the sobbing was this letting go, this other layer of control, and of being able to make it just right for her and for myself. And when we sat in meditation, I really was taken back to this situation last night with Frida, where I didn't act in the way that I wanted to, and I lost my patience, and I just, you know, and I kind of was okay with how I then dealt with it, how I took responsibility for it, and I apologised, and I learned, you know, stepped back to learn what was I showing myself, and what was she showing me. But it didn't kind of mean that I could sidestep the feelings and the shame and the blame and guilt that I kind of held. And so when we sat in meditation, I was really brought into that scene, and I could kind of feel myself as that presence just looking at us. And it was kind of I was saying to my human, I love you. I love you when, no matter what. I love you when you're doing that. And I could, and then the human part of me, I could feel this kind of like, how could you? You know, like this crippling, how could you? How could you love that? And I just kind of kept being brought back into this, well, I do, and I would. And how can you, like, it just kind of kept drawing me into that energy. And just kind of like that mother energy of like, come on, it's okay, it's okay. And then I clearly saw, you know, it was this sense of you and Frida, you're a team. At a soul level, you came in here as a team. I mean, you're just showing each other, that's all. You're just playing this out for each other. And also just, in that seeing that she just represents for me my 5-year-old self. And where did I feel shamed and blamed? Or Frida's, you know, the kind of kid who she won't take shit. You know, she won't, or she'll speak up. Or she'll say, I didn't like that you said that to me, Mum. I didn't like that you treated me like that, Mum. And I'm like, awesome! Keep saying it! But I wouldn't have said that as a kid. I wouldn't have. My energy as a child was easygoing and sweet and, you know, and playful and light, and I was also the third child, so I just kind of went along.
Some peace too.
And so I just kind of, it felt like she's showing me where I could have been more difficult.
She's teaching you.
And how do I love that part of me? That is becoming, like, that's what I'm becoming now. I'm starting to say no. I'm starting to speak up. I'm starting to ruffle the feathers and not always be easy and sweet and, you know. So she's showing me.
Then it transforms those moments of potential shame into moments of learning.
Totally.
Like moments, like, so beautiful.
And it was amazing that by the end, because Marie and I got this same message sitting in meditation of, how can you love all of it, because you're capable of all of it, Bridget. All your soul has done it all, and as a human, you've done it all. So this is part of you.
And divine has loved you no matter what. And that neutrality,
it's part
that
of the
is held
experience.
by that, you know, universal love, divine, whatever you want to call it, God, where you're loved the same in that moment of rainbows and fairies and all things light and love, as you are in that moment of, you know, of anger with your child, or
overwhelmed,
overwhelmed, and
So it was just a really incredible, you know, practice of that meditation to just. I've just kept, like, I was just being brought into it, closer and closer into this, and I could feel my breath. It was shallow, and it was a bit shallow, and then it started to deepen, and then by the end I could take a full breath. And I felt, as when we came out of that meditation, like, something just completed. Like I'd honoured it, and I feel like that's the energy we're working with at the moment. Is it's coming in asking us, like, well, look, I'm just going to blow this shit up in your face. Now you know how you can deal with it. How are you going to deal with it? And how can you feel fully and be vulnerable and feel like you're going to probably, like, just need to lie flat on the ground. But in a 20-minute meditation of facing it, loving it. Because that's the one thing I wanted to kind of finish my part with, was that, you know, when we talk about love and that divine love, it's really, like, it's compassion. It's empathy. It's understanding. And it's that.
I'm glad you said that, because I was feeling like, when you were talking before, that the shame is only there because of the judgment. Because of the lack of understanding, because of the lack of compassion. So, if you're bringing those things in, it takes care of.
It's like that, for me, those actions of compassion and compassion for the judgment, compassion for the, you know, and the understanding and the forgiveness. That's what kept coming back into this meditation, was like, how can you forgive yourself? Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself, and
not creating some new form of perfection. No. This isn't about let go of all your judgments and then
be perfect
again. Like, then you'll never yell at your children, and you'll never raise your voice, and it's going to be a lifelong thing.
Practice.
You know, it's a practice. It's not
this forgiveness thing, though, this kind of going right into the epicenter and learning to yourself and learning how to feel it fully, and then and
then
like
the charge gets released. It moves through you, and then you're not going into the next situation with that holding the shame and the charge of it from all those previous.
And ultimately, your kids don't feel it, because even when you are kind of like strapping on a smile and you're really just like gripping everything around you,
I want
they know.
Tell you to shut up right now, but I'm going to smile and go, "Oh, sweetheart, go on." They know.
They know, and they, So this is when we talk, like when people talk about the work. This is it, and it's not anymore. It's moment by moment, and it's the choice. It's the choice, and you don't always get it, and you don't always have the space. But I had the space this morning, and I chose to really feel it and take responsibility for it and forgive myself, and for me now, celebrate that because now I know I can take that into the next situation that presents. Yeah, and I can see that in someone else and not judge. I can have complete compassion. We're still doing our best.
Oh yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that's. It feels complete.
Yeah. No, me too. Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. We we really appreciate you being there and inviting us into your homes and hearts.
And if you feel like this conversation would resonate for someone we really encourage you to share it with them, because that is what we're here to do. We just want to share that love and what we're learning and have learnt. That's how we'll kind
of
get
that with
through
others.
This. Yeah. So subscribe to it, like it,
and share it,
and we'll see you next time.